A rehang or refurbishment, you only do it when you need to do it because it creates disruption and you have to raise money and it creates a lot of work. But you know, like any public building, after a number of years, things need to be renewed or repaired or restored. So that's that part of it. And then in terms of the collection, again, that's something that we always want to do, that we elect to do. We're always acquiring for the collection. Uniquely, unlike other museums, we commission for the collection because we want to create a living portrait of Britain. When we began the project, it all began by listening to our visitors and listening to what they loved about the gallery. You know, I'm one of them, that I've known this gallery since I was a child. I worked here 20 years ago when I was a student as a front of house assistant. And there's things that everyone knows and loves about the NPG. It feels a bit different, it feels maybe a bit more human, maybe a bit more quirky. And we wanted to kind of keep that sense of intimacy. But equally, there were real issues with the building. There was no step-free access. So if you came with a buggy or a wheelchair, it was very difficult and kind of embarrassing. The lifts didn't connect to the ground floor. But also with the collection, there was a perception for a lot of people, because we also spoke to people that had stopped visiting or who had never visited, and we wanted to find out why. And the perception, and this is a perception, is that, you know, it was full of old, dusty portraits of white men and maybe wasn't relevant. We've gone from when we closed in 2020, 35% of the portraits on our walls were of women, now to 48%. We've almost hit gender balance, which is fantastic. And also the same in terms of ethnic diversity. Before it was around 3%, now it's gone up to 11%. You know, and there's still work to do on all these fronts. As I said, we want the collection to be a fully rounded, living portrait of Britain, but we have come on leaps and bounds in the last few years. Tracy's done a really amazing job. It's so sensitive for the building, but I think what it does is it puts people at ease right away, that when you come into the National Portrait Gallery through these very grand, large, imposing doors, but there's these beautiful drawings of people that we all recognize and relate to. And I think the one that's so wonderful is the panel that just says Mom, which obviously I'm sure represents her mother, but it also represents all of our mothers. And I think she's done a really amazing job.
Yes, yeah. I was about to say, it was science fiction. Yeah, it was.
It felt really nice that when you come in, that we would have something new. So this is actually a loan from his studio. But it also, of course, reflects us. You know, it's, of course, looking at a mobile phone is something that we all do probably far too much. Of course, it's also how we look at a lot of portraits through social media and selfies. And it's someone that we recognize. And what we really wanted to do across the project was to have the complete span of British history, from the Plantagenets, which you see upstairs, that's where you begin your journey, all the way through to now.